Today I'm going to show you all of my must-have quilting notions that I keep right around my sewing machine and in my sewing room that you will never find in a quilt shop. Hi, I'm Megan and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here or you're not a subscriber and you'd like to learn more quilting tips, free patterns, and free motion quilting help, then be sure to subscribe below. I post 2 videos a week, so come on in and join the fun. Today we are going to be talking about my favorite quilting notions, and everybody's seen everybody's hair marker and super sharp scissors. Those are great sewing notions, but they're pretty common and everybody has them. So today I'm going to show you the things that are a little bit more unexpected that I keep right around my sewing machine. First up, paintbrushes. Now, I inherited these from my grandmother, and these are amazing for cleaning your sewing machine, which is definitely something you're doing, right? Like at least between every project. Probably weekly if you're like a heavy sewer like I am. So I love these for getting down in all those little nooks and crannies in your sewing machine. They can really fit in there, and I'm not afraid I'm going to break any little pieces in my sewing machine like I am when I use those like metal tweezers that came with my machine. Those are great for grabbing little bits of fluff like on the outside of your machine or helping threading, but there's nothing like these long soft bristles to really get in, grab all that fluff, and just pull it right out. These are old used brushes. I mean, they're clean, but I've been using them for a couple years now, and they're fantastic. I know painters like to get rid of old brushes, like if some of the bristles aren't quite aligned anymore, they aren't as good for painting. So if you have a painter friend, then maybe you can score some of these for free or super cheap or in return for a favor. Or you can pick them up at any big box craft store. So I highly recommend these. Second is a timer. Now, we all get dragged down into those projects that we aren't super in love with, but they're too far along to just abandon and kind of pretend that we never even had them in the first place. So taking advantage of a timer is a good way to make progress on those projects without feeling like you are being dragged under into quicksand or something. So I set a timer for 10-15 minutes and just work on it, and then I can put it away with no guilt because I know I've made progress. Now, you can certainly use the timer on your phone or whatever you have lying around. I bought this one just because it has a magnet on the back and I can kind of clip it to all the little metal shelving and stuff that's in my room. But I use this all the time, and it's a great little tool to have. I also use it times when I only have like a certain amount of time to sew on a project and I don't want to get kind of lost in the process. So I'll set a timer, and then I know when I need to go back to regular life. So these are awesome to keep around. They're super cheap on Amazon. I think I bought a pack of 2 of them for $10. Next up is painter's tape. Now, I use this in a lot of different ways in my sewing room. I use it to mark straight lines for machine quilting. Like if you want like a long, straight quilted line across the whole surface of your quilt, you can just use this as a guide to run your foot along as you're quilting, and it will keep it nice and straight, and it won't leave any residue on your quilt. Obviously, test it. It will all depend on what kind of brand you use and what fabric you're using in your quilt. So be sure to test it, but I haven't had any problems with residue being left on the surface of my quilt. It's repositionable a couple of times, and it's just kind of handy to have for those times when you want to quilt long straight lines. I also use it when I'm piecing. If I need like a specific seam allowance, and I don't have like a way to adjust my foot with the little side on it, then I'll build up a couple layers of this to kind of guide my fabric along so that I'm getting the proper seam allowance. You can also use it to hang quilts on a wall if you need to take pictures of them for a competition submission or just Instagram. This is really handy to have. It's super cheap. This is the green frog tape. I bought it at Home Depot, but the blue stuff I've used in the past too. I just kind of like the green color, so that's what I bought. But definitely pick up a roll of this. I think I have like 3 of them in this room right now. It's super handy, a good thing to have around your sewing machine. Next, Ziplock bags. Now, these are my favorite Ziplock bags. They're from IKEA. They are nice and big. There's one that's even like a bigger size than this. I think this is like the 4.5 quart. I think they also make a 6 quart bag. These are really nice, thick plastic, and I use them to sort my scraps. I use them to shove stuff in to take it to a guild meeting. They're just really great organizational tools, and can kind of keep all of your pieces to a project all in one place. Especially if you don't have like a large sewing room where you can keep things out, keeping things organized so you can pack them away so that when you get them out next time to work on that project, all the pieces are there. So these are a must-have item for me. I use them until they rip and then replace them. So I do get a lot of use out of them. The Ziplock brand or whatever brand you can find is great, but if you have an IKEA, try these. They are magic. The next one is a mason jar, and I keep this one by my sewing machine at all times. I clip all my threads and put it in the jar. Every time I change a needle, I put it in the jar. When I clean my machine, I put it in the jar. If I change a rotary blade, I put it in the jar. And that just means that I'm not stepping on bent pins and spent needles, and there's not little bits of thread all over my room. It keeps it all contained, especially the dangerous items. Like if you have kids or pets, you don't want somebody stepping on a pin that you set to the side to throw away later. Not that I've ever done that. Until I got this. I did it all the time and it was terrible. I was always afraid I was going to end up with like a sewing machine needle stuck in my foot because I'm always barefoot. So get yourself a mason jar. I have been filling this one up for like a year. Like it holds a lot, especially if you put like rotary blades that kind of compress it down. And then when it's full, I just dump this whole thing into a plastic jar that I was going to throw away anyway, like a spent peanut butter jar or a jelly jar, something like that. Just to make sure all those little sharp things don't end up in the trash where someone might, compress them or hurt somebody. So this is like a safety issue. It's also like a neatness issue. So this is one of my favorite things. I recommend this to a lot of people. It's very utilitarian. And I guess you could decorate it and make it pretty. I just really like mason jars, so I kept this one plain. Next up, a hammer. Now, I bought this one for my very brief interaction with metal stamping. Maybe I'll get back to that one day. But it is a great tool to have for, those blocks that you sew that are like a star block is especially like this, where there's like 8 or even more pieces of fabric that all come together in that center. And it's like, it doesn't matter how neatly you piece that and press it and how much starch you use. There's always like that crazy fabric buildup in the center of the block. So I take this and I take my block and I just pound the center of that block and it will really flatten it out. It's kind of amazing what a hammer can do that an iron can't. But any hammer will do. I keep this one in my sewing room just because I have all my metal stamping supplies in here too. So, but any hammer will do. Just make sure it's clean so you don't leave a mark on your fabric. You might want to use a cloth on top if you're doing it from the right side of the block or quilt. But just give it a couple of pounds, a couple good whacks, and it will really flatten out. This one is 16 ounces, but again, any hammer you have, awesome. The next one is a priority mail shipping box. Now, this one is really only applicable if you are shipping quilts, like to shows, or if you ship your quilts to a long armor, then ask your post office for these boxes. They are called board game boxes, and they are the size of kind of those medium flat rate boxes, but they are much longer. So you can fit a whole quilt in here and save yourself some money shipping, and they're free. Go get some. I keep a couple of them in my craft room all the time. Now, not all post offices will have these, or they might not know what you're talking about, but you can get on the USPS website and they will just drop some off at your door. They're totally for free. So if you need to ship quilts, this is a great option because all but the very biggest quilt will fit in here, and it'll save yourself cramming it into one of those other boxes. Finally, we have my absolute must-have accessory, and that is noise canceling Bluetooth headphones. I cannot sew without these things. I actually have two pairs. I have a pair for up here at my sewing machine, and then I have another pair downstairs by my long arm. And I don't have a TV in my sewing room. I know a lot of people do, and I would love that, but I don't know how anybody hears over the kind of the racket of their sewing machine. So I have these, and they are paired to my phone, so I can listen to podcasts, audiobooks, music, or I could pair these to my laptop and watch something off of Netflix or a movie, but these really help pass the time, and I find that I get distracted a lot less while I'm sewing. I feel like if I had a TV in my sewing room, then I would suddenly realize that I've been sitting there watching a terrible, trashy TV show instead of sewing for like the last hour. So I really need something that helps me visually focus on what I'm doing, but keep my ears a little bit busy. So highly recommend. You will get a lot of audiobooks to listen to if that's your jam. So the last one's just for laughs. My husband actually bought this for me for Valentine's Day, and it's a beer hat. Don't actually drink and sew because you don't want to sew over your fingers or anything, but I just thought this was too hilarious. I haven't actually used this yet, but I'm kind of tempted to get myself like some cans of Coke or Coke Zero or whatever and see how it works. I thought this was just too hilarious to not include. Definitely not a quilting shop notion. So that's it. There's all my notions that I keep in my sewing room at all times that are not traditional sewing notions. If I had to pick just one, it would definitely be the paintbrushes. These make quick work of cleaning your sewing machine, which is something that you really should be doing. It will prolong the life of your sewing machine. It will help you get better stitches. It will solve like a lot of tension issues. So your sewing machine works hard for you. So give it a little spa day with some paintbrushes. So that's all I have for you. I hope you enjoyed this fun little video. I will be back very soon with another full quilt tutorial. I have a couple of ideas kind of rattling around in my brain, but I'm interested in what you guys want to see. Do you guys want another scrappy quilt, or do you want like a fat quarter bundle quilt? I have some ideas for either of those that I'm really excited about. So let me know in the comments below. Are you team fat quarter bundle, or are you team scrappy quilt? So let me know, and I will start working on a pattern, and we'll have another fun full quilt tutorial with a downloadable pattern all for free for you guys, and we'll have some fun. So have an awesome day and happy quilting, and get some paintbrushes.